Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. I don't know how long this episode is going to be able to be because after last week when I got home from a night shift and I never seemed to recover, I just went straight into being sick. So I don't know how much of me feeling like knackered and all my joints were hurting were actually because of the night shifts and the perimenopause and how much was this cold that's come on. But now it's all mixed together. Excuse me. So I thought I'm gonna get up in the morning and just do record straight away here Monday because I fear during the day that I'm gonna lose my voice, right? But I have something important to say. So this week I had a case that really got to me, and it's funny, isn't it? How no matter how many years you're in it, and you kind of get used to stuff happening, and then there's just some cases just hit you. So I actually cried during a euthanasia this week. And what it was I came on shift one night and the David who was just finishing had literally just accepted as Fink, the naked cats, who was struggling to breathe. And they put them in an oxygen tent and he had given it some furosemide, had given it some topagesic and he had butorphanol and he had just quickly checked that there was at least no pleural effusion. That we didn't need to drain the chest, the problem's in the lungs, no. And it was he kind of got it was some sort of heart disease, but the cat was too sick to do a full scan, right? Because he was wriggly. So I came on shift and I'm like, oh, bloody hell, a heart, a dyspneic cat, which is my worst nightmare. And then this cat is only 4. He only literally turned 4. I'm like, God damn, that's bad, right? And then against all odds, he recovered overnight. And we were like getting him lower and lower in oxygen, lowering the furosemide, and he actually recovered. And then, as we were able to take him out of oxygen in the morning, I left him to the next day vet, who's my clinical director, who's really good at scanning. And then he did a heart scan on the cat. So throughout the night, I got pretty attached to the cat, and we got him eating, and he was just a little pig, like my nurse fondly called him a little ball sack because they just look so funny without the fur, right? But he was really, really cute. And by the morning, he was like jumping in and out of these kennel and just like incredibly sociable, just really nice, headbutting you and just so like wanting to engage with you, right? And then he had a heart scan, and the heart was, I'm not kidding you, it was fucked. Like the heart was just, that was like, I don't know, 2, 3% left in that heart that was actually working. So obviously we know he's on a road to nowhere, right? But we were like, he actually responded to the treatment we gave him overnight, which for me never happens. When I get a cat in with a heart insufficiency that's dyspneic, that is a road to nowhere. They always end up dying. So I have to put them to sleep or they die on me, They just never respond to anything we do, maybe briefly, and then they cack it. So I was really surprised and happy that he had recovered. Like, oh, maybe he's got some, a little bit of time left, but also knowing that with that heart, like we're not going to give him a new heart, right? He's going to die. And the owner, these things always happen, right? So the owner had just lost her dog unexpectedly on the Saturday and that week, and a few days before had lost the sibling to this cat we had in to heart disease, and he died. He was in and had all the treatments and had all the scans and was sent home with medication. And then I think he had some sort of horrifying death, choking on his own, like couldn't breathe, no. So by this point, the owner was so traumatized that she couldn't even come in to visit him and she couldn't even talk about him. So she sent her adult daughter, who also knew the cat, and the boyfriend in to kind of visit him and see how he's doing and assess, right? And they come in, and by this is like now 24 hours since I first saw him, and a few hours later into the night, and the cat is like jumping in and out of the kennel, and he's vocalizing, and he's eating like a little pig. He's doing like his little snout in the food, and I'm so attached to this cat. I'm so attached to it. And the girl's like, they're doing face calls with the mom because she's like got trauma and she cannot come into the clinic because like literally these 2 pets have just died. And we say, well, you could try to take him home with an oral furosemide, and he could do a few days more, at least have him home a little bit. And in the end, and this lady was like, the owner's lovely, so she adopted these cats. She didn't go out and buy things. She had adopted them and had them for a little while, And she's like, I can't do it. I can't do it to him. I can't take him home and then have him die like his brother did, no? So, which I understood, right? Because we could not give this cat a new heart. But then my brain was breaking and also my heart, because in front of me, I have this like chirpy cat okay, I'll give it to the lady. Like he was still dyspneic, right? He was, you can see there was increased respiratory effort. His little chest was going in and out, but it was much, much less. And my head, because he was so much better, I'm like, but surely he'll last a little bit longer, won't he? But I also knew with that heart, it's very likely that they would just say kapow any point and he would die, you know? So we ended up doing a euthanasia to prevent suffering, to prevent him from actually knowing proper suffering. And which I totally agree with. Like, I don't like, I would not want this lovely little midget having to suffer, right? But also, it was so hard because in the end, he had a catheter in, luckily, and so I didn't have to like bother him anything. And the daughter and the boyfriend, they were with us as well, and the nurse, we were all there with him, and he was loved in that moment. And then we kind of wrapped him up in his this house coat they brought in that he just loved because he's naked, right? And he's eating his food and he's like, we put licky licks on it and he's just like chopping away at that like a little pig. And then I just gave him Euthytel through the catheter and he just like dropped dead, right? So he didn't feel anything. And for him, it was the best outcome because it's true. She would have taken him home and he might have had a few days. And at the end, we would have to put him to sleep anyway, right? So this was to prevent suffering. And I don't know, like maybe some of you don't agree with doing this until they're actually suffering, but I do agree with it. But my heart didn't, and it was really hard for me. So I'm doing this, you know, and I'm literally I get tears in my eyes just thinking about it now, and I'm crying. So I'm like I'm pushing this Euthytel in, and I'm literally tears down my face. And I look at the daughter, and I'm like, well, that's nothing. I didn't say anything, but I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it because I am genuinely upset, right? So what I want to say is in that moment, I was just fully accepting. I accepted this is a shit situation, right? And we shouldn't breed these breeds that are just so fucking cute, you know, like French bulldogs, apart from the breathing is not cute, but they're so cute and they get into your little hats like that. And then they just die horrible death when they're teenagers, right? Because they shouldn't be bred in the first place. But I had to accept that this cat was here now. He was bred, he's here, right? I had to accept he had a shitty heart. I had to accept that long term there's nothing we could do for him. And I had to accept the lady's decision, no, and I had to truly accept it and genuinely accept it because I couldn't stand there. I can't euthanize an animal if I don't feel it's the right thing. I have done that a couple of times when I didn't know how to set boundaries, and it's just horrible. It's really horrible if you don't agree with it, no. So I always have to have the conversations with the owners, and I have to land in a place where I can meet them and say, yes, this I agree with this, although I am incredibly sad, I agree with it. No, so I accepted it at all levels. I accepted that the lady was not able to come in and be with the couple, sent her daughter, which was also lovely. And and I accepted that I was really sad. I accepted that I am really upset about this, and I let myself get attached to this little fucker. And now I'm gonna be really upset. And I had taken pictures and videos of him just to send to my daughters because we once house sat a house that had a kitten like this. So I just sent it to them just so they could have a laugh because he was so cute. Obviously, don't share anything out of the out of near circles. And I had to delete it all from my phones because I was like I could literally not see it without getting upset. And so what I want to say is like this acceptance, being able to do this and just lean fully into this like sadness and a bit of rage over like, God damn it, why do humans do this? No, why do they breed these broken animals? And but lean into it and accept that this is where I'm at and just go with it, no? And accept that this is happening and we're just gonna have to do it. No, and I feel in the past this would really have broken me more than just feeling sad. It would really have broken me because I would not have been able to accept it. I would have fought with this reality of this dying cat that doesn't look dying, and I would have tried to do things, and I would probably upset a lot of people, and I would probably have ended up putting him to sleep anyway. But then he might have suffered a lot, and the owners would have been upset, and it would just have been a shit show because I wouldn't have been able maybe to accept it, or the inner battle I would have had would have been so much worse, no? And I'm surprised I got this far without coughing. I've got my ginger water here. Recommend anybody like boiled ginger and turmeric, and then you add a bit of lemon to it, and it's a godsend when you have a cold and super red colds. Um, so in general, when we are in a difficult situation that we didn't plan for, we didn't desire to have, being able to accept that this is happening. And I want there's something called what is it called? Spiritual bypassing, which is I'm in this situation with an abusive partner or whatever it is, and I'm just gonna pretend everything is okay and just like let my gaslight myself into thinking this is okay. And there's a fine line between that and acceptance. So with VetMed, it's not like I want you, if let's say you're working in a, let's say you have a shitty boss or you have a shitty coworker, right? I am not telling you to think that it's acceptable, to think that it's okay that this person is disrespectful to you. But at some level, you got to accept that they are being disrespectful. You have to accept that this is the situation you're in because you are, right? You cannot, it's like me arguing with it's raining. Like I wanted it to be sunny. I wanted to go for a walk, but it's not, it's raining. I have to accept it's raining because that's what it is. You have to accept that this is the situation you are in right now. If you have an animal that's dying, a disease you didn't want to this animal to have, a coworker that's being an idiot to you, you have to accept that this is happening. And specifically towards people, you have to accept that this is how this person is. And then if you have the energy and the will to it, you can then go a step further and thinking, hurt people. This person is probably really stressed. This person has probably got some issues going on at home. That helps me to make it easier to accept when something happens. Because if I can kind of like not, I'm not excusing what they do, but I can kind of see where they're coming from. And now that takes the reactiveness out of it. I can accept it. I'm not in my head like arguing with the reality of this person being like this. And now from this place where I'm a bit more neutral and I'm accepting this situation I'm in right now. Now what do I want to do? Right. Now that I'm neutral, do I want to scream back at this co-worker, my boss? Do I want to hand my notice in? Do I want to set a really firm boundary and say, you're not talking to me like this? Make some decisions from a neutral place. Or ignore, let them just talk whatever they want to talk and just completely let it wash over me and know that it means nothing on me. No, because remember, like when people are being nasty at you, when people are being idiots and they're shouting at you or whatever it is, like it's normally not about you. It's because they have some inner tension, some shit they have not worked through, right? They're not listening to this podcast and knowing how to process their emotions. And they have some tension and they just need to let go of it. And some people get let go of that tension by buffering, with over drinking, overworking, over working out, overeating, whatever it is. And some people get rid of that tension by lashing out at other people. And it's the same with owners. No, when owners are lashing out at you in that moment when they're really stressed, it's because they have all this tension and they're just like, I'm gonna throw it at you and I'm going to relieve this tension in me, and I feel momentarily better. And now now you're tense, right? Because they've done this to you. So I think it's really important coming back to accepting, like this is not on me, right? So you can also just say, I'm just going to let this person talk shit, and I'm just going to let it wash over me, and it doesn't mean anything. But if it affects you, then you do have to obviously do something about it. But it's accepting that this is the situation you're in right now. So I didn't like the situation where I have to put down a seemingly, like from the outside, healthy, lovely, cute little animal. I didn't become a vet for that, but I also understand that inside it was broken. But I have to accept that this is the situation I am in right now, because once I accept it, I come back to neutral and I can say, okay, this is what I've got. What do I want to do with it? First cop, sorry. Oh, but of course, if you're in an abusive relationship, for example, you're not just going to accept that that's your life. You can accept the other person is like this. You can accept they are like this because of this shit that happened to them in their childhood or whatever. Now, what do I want to do? Right. So don't just like accept it and sit back and do nothing, but accept it and then move through it from a neutral place. The problem when we don't accept things is that we become incredibly reactive and we're not thinking with our frontal lobe. We're letting, for example, if a person is relieving that tension at you, you're taking all that tension on you, and then now you start reacting. And you got to understand that that is on them. It's nothing to do with you. Because I don't lash out at people. That is my choice, right? I have had some shitty situation and people have let me down and whatever. No, like we all have. I just don't start screaming at people or be nasty to people because it's a choice I make. I don't want to be like that. That other person also has that choice, right? But they are too caught up in their own shit and too have got too much tension going on for them to stop and be neutral and think about how do they want to act towards you. But you can be the bigger person and you can say, I'm not going to let this go anywhere. Like road rage, for example. Let's say something happens on the road and this other person is like escalating really quickly. And you can say, I accept what happened. Like we had a bump or whatever, like something happened, and where do we want to go for there? And if you just stay in that attitude, that situation is gonna de-escalate really, really quickly, as opposed to you accepting the tension from the other person and reacting back. Like, and now you're bouncing, ching, 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 and the ladder just goes one way, and that's up towards, conflict. So when you have cases that are really difficult to get your heads around, it's the first step is always like you got to accept that this is what you got. You got to accept it. You got to accept how you're feeling. I talk a lot about processing our feelings, but the first step is to accept I'm feeling this way. Oh God damn it, Gunila, you shouldn't feel sad about this cat. This is the best outcome for him because now he's not gonna suffer. Yeah, and I'm still gonna be sad because he's fucking cute. And right now he's not suffering and it feels really hard. So accepting how people are around you because and I've talked about this before, right? Like you cannot change them anyway. You cannot change people. So you got to accept how they are. This is how this person is, and they're coming from whatever place they're coming from with their trauma and their upbringing. And now how do I want to react? What do I want to do about it? But you got to accept that that's how they are. Not hide it, not bypassing it, not forgive it or whatever it is, excuse it, but just accept that this is what you got right now. And if an owner, for example, doesn't want to be present for euthanasia and you just feel like, oh, God damn it, I wish they were here, I feel really bad euthanizing an animal and they're not even present or whatever, they can't be bothered. Um, then, accept that you're mad, accept that you get sad, accept that it's frustrating, accept that, that this person is like this, no? And then what do you want to do now? Well, what my goal for the owner to come in was for the animal to be as comfortable and calm as possible. How can I achieve that if they don't come in? Do I need to sedate them a bit, or can I have like a really loving nurse cuddle them while I'm doing it? Can I cuddle it while I do it? You know, you move on from the situation. Once you can accept it, then you can make good choices for you and for everybody around you. Um, it's also, I was talking to, and this is another example. So, where we live in Denmark, we have, I don't know if they have this in other country. It's like a pellet fire, and this is like this. Have I talked about it before? It just tended to break. It was breaking all the time. It was like having a French bulldog like in a cow and trying to feed it, and it never working. So finally, Bruce has spent so much time and so much money fixing this thing. So now it works. He's tuned it up. It's like top tuned pellet fire. And now we just have to buy the pellets in, right? So we found some local shops, a bit like B&Q or whatever you call them, where you're like, where you can buy construction stuff and wood and whatever, garden stuff. And they have like these bags. And Bruce would then go out and buy them. And you can actually order in a whole pallet of these bags that are 16 kilos each. You can buy like, I don't know, a ton of them. But it actually doesn't come out cheaper. So Bruce would just like pick them up, go like once or twice a week and just pick up maybe 10 bags, and that was enough, right? And it's still cold in Denmark. Today it's the 29th, the 30th of March, and it's still bloody cold in the morning. Like we cannot not have the heating on. So last time we went to the shop, he said to the guy, do you have these bags all year round, or now in summer you're gonna cut them out because now they get garden furniture and shit in, don't they? And the guy's like, yeah, we have them all year. And he asked again, and the guy said, we have them all year. So Bruce thought, okay, cool. I don't need to stock up on them. I can just keep picking them up like I am. And then I arrive, right? And he goes because I go to England work and then I come here. And he comes from Spain straight to Denmark to make sure the house is warm for when I get here. I'm not coming home to a cold house after night shifts. And then he goes to buy more bags. And they're like, oh no, like we don't do them anymore because now it's summertime. And he's like, you what? So the guy that told him that we were there all year was nowhere to be seen. He was not there. And now we went in and I went in with him. I'm like, he said, maybe it's a language thing. And they speak English, but like, is something not going through? So I asked in Danish, like, do you have the pellets now? And they're like, no, we don't have them anymore. And no, the shops have them now. And Bruce is like, we only have him enough for 2 more days. Like, we're staying here for weeks. And he was so mad at this guy because he had lied to him. And I was like, well, and he got really, and I think it affected him because he feels really responsible for how, the house has to be warm, right? That's like, it's a man's job, right? We have shelter, we have heat, we have food, this is like a thing. And so he felt really frustrated because this guy had lied to him. And I said, well, to me, in order to accept, well, we got to accept the situation. We need to find these bags from somewhere else, probably quite expensive now somewhere, transport and that. But we've got to accept the situation we're in. And in order for you to get to a neutral place and start searching, like, where do we actually find other bags? Like, you got to accept that this person said this to you. And for me to accept something, I always have to find why would this person do that? And I'm like, maybe he didn't lie to you. Like, I don't think there was like any malice and like, hey, I'm just gonna tell him, then they can freeze their butts off. I think it's more a thing like he assumed, maybe he knew that and he just assumed they were always gonna be there. He had been told that, or maybe last year they had them all summer and he just assumed that was just gonna happen, or maybe he didn't really care and he just thought and he didn't look right. But I don't think he deliberately lied to us. So, and we talked a bit about it, and he did come down a bit. And I think this really helps for me. Like when we think the other person comes in with like a bad intention, and we then get really mad and they shouldn't be like this and why did they do and they lied and we assume a lot of stuff, don't we? And it is really hard to accept the situation because we keep coming back to they shouldn't have said, they shouldn't have done that, why did they do that? And our brain just spins in that instead of actually start finding solutions to what's going on. The same when a client is being an idiot or you get a complaint or something, we just stay in that spin of why did they say that? And that's a lie and that's not true and they shouldn't say that. And that really keeps us in this because we can't accept it. We can't accept it because we don't agree with it. But you don't have to agree with it in order to accept it. That's what I want. That's my point, right? I don't have to agree with a lovely cat to die in order to accept it, right? I cannot agree with it. I can still accept that it's happening. I hope that makes sense to you. And it takes a little to wrap your head around, and it's taken me a while because I definitely want to make sure that none of you gaslight yourself into staying in a situation you don't want to stay in because now you kind of learn to get better at just accepting it, but you don't really like it, right? Like I don't want anybody to gaslight themselves. And that is spiritual bypassing, which is I can feel great in any situation. For example, let's say that I got falsely accused of something and went to prison. Well, I can just be happy in prison. I can be happy in anywhere. So it doesn't matter. No, I'm still going to fucking fight the court case, right? But I can accept right now I'm sitting in a cell, but I need to fight my case, no? As an extreme example. Um, so acceptance. That is acceptance. Acceptance is accepting what is, that you can't change anyway, that this is happening. You can't change people. You can't change death. You can't change the weather. So you got to accept it, but really accept it. Let it land. Accept your own feelings when it's feelings you don't like, feelings that might be ugly, like jealousy, or just crying ugly. But you still have to accept you have them, and then from there on you can process. Then from there on you can make changes. Yeah, I hope that makes sense to you. And I want to invite you again if you are struggling with some of these things that like go to my brand new website where I have all my tools and resources, all the free stuff, linked to my podcast as well. Like, and I'm just uploading the whole blog, all the blog posts I had in the old one, and I'm just retitling them so it's easier to understand. And there's just a ton of info in there where you can find a lot of help to whatever it is that you're most struggling with. And you also really explain my paid offer. So, there's the handbook for when you move to a new practice, or if you've been away from VetMed, you're coming back in. There's my Happy and VetMed course. That's like a 12 modules. I've changed it around now so you don't have to wait for each week. Like you get in there and you just straight away have access to all 12 modules. And I've changed the format a bit so it's a bit easier to get through too. Um, and when you join that course, you have one session with me, one-to-one coaching session. You can choose one at whatever point during the course you feel you need some support. And you also can write to me at any point, right? You can write because you get a couple of emails just to check in with you, and you can answer to any of them with any doubts you have about what's going on in the course, right? And once you finish the course, you email me and say, I've completed it, I've completed the worksheet, and then I make a CPD certificate for you, which is worth 12 hours, which is really good, right? Because then you can tick that off your CPD and you have done something really for yourself that will actually make you much more likely to stay at VetMed, right? And then the other options, which are like coaching with me one-on-one, and I really explain the process and how to sign up with me, the price and the different options there as well. So I really encourage you to go and check out my website, which is gunilalifecoach.com. It's pretty easy. Just if you need some extra support apart from this podcast. And obviously also something I do when I listen, because I listen to a ton of podcasts as well. If there's some episodes that really resonate with you, like listen to them again and also go through and see, is there anything like that? Because I really like to binge when I need something Like, for example, boundaries. When I really needed to learn to set boundaries, I would go through my favorite podcasts about, life coaching and stuff, and I would just find all the ones like on boundaries and listen to them. So that's really something I would offer to you if you just like binge on the episodes that seem to be more towards what you need right now. I find that super, super helpful. So that was just a little tip for you. All right. Well, my voice lasted this long. I'm super happy. Have a lovely rest of your week. Take care. Bye.